Hello YouTube, this is the Nervin, and today I want to do my second video on Wraith the Oblivion. Today I'm going to talk about the setting, and I will do this in two parts. First I want to describe the society, and then I want to talk about the different places that there are in the Underworld. Um, so let's get started on the society. As in every of the monster lines for World of Darkness, there is a government sort of that keeps the effects of these supernatural creatures, of the ghosts, a secret. This is called the hierarchy, and this government has been around since the Roman times. Um, they are based in a place called Stygia, a big city deep in the Underworld. We will talk about that later. And they have also branches in practically every Western city, or at least in their Shadowlands version, which is, as I already mentioned before, the dark mirror of this city. The hierarchy is, as is the Camarilla for vampires, of course, if you are a Wraith, you are a member. Um, the hierarchy is divided into 8 different legions. The dividing line between the legions is the type of death you experienced. There is, for example, a legion for the deaths of violence, uh, deaths by insanity, unnet not unnatural, unclear death, and so on. I will go maybe I will go into detail on them at another time. Um, every wraith, as I said, is technically part of a legion, and the legions have 2 wings: the military arm and the bureaucratical arm. The military arm is, of course, there to secure the cities against raids by specters and plasmics, which are basically nightmares become real. Um, and the bureaucratic, basically, they are the civilians of the hierarchy society. Inside the hierarchy, and basically everywhere in the Western culture, there also exist the guilds, which are basically organizations that concern themselves with particular arcanas, the supernatural powers, and offer their services against charge. At one point in the history of this setting, they tried to rebel against the hierarchy, and since then have been officially been banned. But they are so useful that there is a policy of don't ask, don't tell in place, and as long as they keep a low profile, the local hierarchy won't bother. Each character can decide to become a member of one of the guilds, but you don't have to. And your connection to the legions is also a bit obscure. So in this setting there is no thing such as a clan or tribe or tradition or kith. Um, you're just an individual. Um, Besides these 2 forces, there are also uh, 2 groups which are more divided into smaller groups. There are the renegades, which is basically every form of political or criminal organization that exists in the Shadowlands. And then there are the heretics, which are basically every religious group that exists in the Underworld. uh, so these are just very loose words. It's more sort of categorization. They are not really connected with each other. Um, Also, there exists the Ferryman, from which the hierarchy originally came from. Um, the Ferrymen have, a long, long time ago, taken up the oath to bring uh, the newly deceased to the so-called far shores, which some think of as paradise. Um, we will talk about this place also later. But the ferrymen are modernly they are more sort of a myth. You don't actually encounter them anymore, and some actually think they have forsaken their duty. They are best if you wanted to relate them to something out of a vampire setting, they would best be they are somehow like the Inconnu. Um, then there are the other dark kingdoms, which is basically another categorization of hierarchy society for the other governments that exist in the underworld. Basically, every culture out there has its own dark kingdom. There is a dark kingdom of ebony, I think, for Africa. There's the dark kingdom of jade for Asia. Uh, they have a dark kingdom of, I think, obsidian for Aztecs and Incas and such. Um, there is quite a number of those. Um, and they represent alternate settings in which you can play games, and sometimes even game mechanics in these different parts of the world work differently. Um, how do you become a member of hierarchy society? How do you become a member of any society? When you die and are start to exist as a race, you have what is called a cowl over your head. And this basically makes you very vulnerable because you can't really see, you can't feel anything, you are not free to move in much, in very strong sense. Sometimes very rarely, a race manages to uncowl himself, but most of the time this is done by the so-called Reaper. And this is the race who removes your cowl and um, who's your first contact in practice. Um, if you're lucky, this is just another free spirit who wants to help you. If you are in bad luck, then this is someone who actually will chain you up and bring you to a smith, a so-called soulsmith. Because in the underworld there are no materials from which to build anything, except for some, I think it's called soul steel, which is an ore that is only available in very dangerous places. So most of the things in the underworld have to be created by with the plasmids of ghosts. And here we come to the part of goods, relics, and soul forging. Um, as I said, anything in the underworld is made of the bodies, or most of it is made of the bodies of ghosts and wraiths and specters. um, there is an exception to this. Sometimes when you hold an object very dearly and it is destroyed, it can come over the shroud and become sort of the ghost of this object. These are called relics and are very prized possessions. Um, most objects are, as I said, smized by smelting down uh, the body of a wraith. This holds true for the coins that are used, for basically any object. Um, and there's a certain kind of wraith who basically just repeats the actions that led to his death. Um, these are called drones and are not really sentient. These are the only ones that the hierarchy officially allows to be soul forged, except for, I think, criminals or criminals who committed very severe acts, I think. But most other organizations don't really care that much. So there are bands out there who just want you not even as a slave, but just for your flesh and bones, if you will. This is also one of the very grim part of this setting, and through the use of this, by making the walls making sounds and the chair on which you sit ache under you, I actually was able to make a player shiver at the gaming table, which was very cool, I think. Then there are plasmics, which are, as I said, nightmares become real. In the Underworld, there are lots of things that were never really sentient, but which are part of the human imagination. Maybe they are forgotten dreams or just nightmares, as I said. And so basically, actually you can encounter anything in the Underworld, which also makes this setting very rich and very free form. And as human nightmares goes, this setting is in very large parts greatly inspired by H.P. Lovecraft and Call of Cthulhu, I think. As I watch on the clock, I think I will do a second video for the places of the Underworld. Thank you for watching, and see you.